I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 5:31. Do I have any members of the commission who would like to read the land acknowledgement, which is on the third page?
I can.
Thank you.
What, Doug? Can?
Oh,
I don't think Doug has done it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't yet.
All right, it's yours then.
All right then.
Please go.
Right. We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk. And because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossessed indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you.
So Kelsey did send me some edits to the draft minutes that are in there from your November meeting. Unfortunately, I had already printed the packet, but Kelsey, if you still have those, you can just let everybody else know, and then I'll firm up that those were changes were made.
Yeah. So it was just grammatical in nature. So there was one like typo on page 2 in the last paragraph there. Pre-saw rather than SAW. And then on the attendance record, it was just updating the chart. That was it. Is that all? I'm going through
Yeah,
it.
that's what I remember.
That's it. Nothing contextual.
Well, I'll move or approve the minutes with those minor changes.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from November 22nd to 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries 9-0. So I don't see any members of the public here, so I'm going to skip item 4 for public comment of items not on the agenda. And now is a great opportunity. I think we'll start with Doug, but if we could just go around and introduce ourselves, tell us a little about yourself and why you wanted to be a part of the commission and what you're looking forward to in serving on it.
My name is Doug Kolash. I live on the west side of Iowa City and have been here for a year-ish, year and a half now. I went to undergrad here, lived in Madison for 10 years, Cedar Rapids a little bit before that. Now we're back here. My partner is a PhD student in the College of Education at the university. And joined the Human Rights Commission because I'm a member of the LGBTQ community and am interested in human rights and making sure that Iowa City remains a beacon of progress and an example in an ever increasingly hostile environment and statewide culture that is much different than it was when I left 10 years ago. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I have 2 kids, just really quick personal thing, I guess, too, yeah.
Ages?
15-year-old, a freshman at West, and a 13-year-old 8th grader at Northwest Junior High.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go next? I
I
won't
can
go
go
around.
next.
Oh, you want to?
Okay.
Perfect.
So my name is Suyin Chen. I moved to Iowa City from China in 2008. I live in Iowa City with my husband and 3 children, 13, 3, and 1. My 13-year-old is actually the singer in the red shirt that sings Girl on Fire and one great
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Professionally, I think I define myself as a bilingual storyteller. So I write stories about international students and alumni at the University of Iowa. So I share those stories on social media, website, and I also host events. Before the pandemic, it was mainly for it was international events for alumni. But right now we are doing a more virtual programming, but hopefully we can resume international travel as soon as possible so we can just help like our international alumni stay connected with university and also the Iowa City community in general as a whole. Yeah, that's my hope. And in my free time, I volunteer for the Iowa City Area Chinese Association, and that's the main reason, I applied to join the Human Rights Commission. I just feel like, we want more representation, from the Chinese community in the general Iowa City area, and also we really feel like just help the Iowa City area understand like Asian community in general. So I think it goes two ways. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Sylvia Johns, and this is my second term as a commissioner. I've been in Iowa City now for 3 years. I moved here from New York City, Queens actually, during the pandemic, and really with not clear that I would stay, but really fell in love with it. And through my work, we've come to an agreement that I travel so much for work that it just makes sense that this is kind of where my heart is now, and surprisingly, and I've fallen in love with being a part of the community, serving as a human rights commissioner, being engaged whenever I can, and so that's kind of the ethos of who I am. In my 9 to 5, I lead academic diplomacy and partnerships programs for a very large, kind of well-known NGO, and my truth is that I believe that education is a basic human right, and I'm here to make sure that that remains. So I come from a very diverse family, and that's also makes up a lot of who I am. My brother's African American, a Native American, my sister's African American, I'm Korean American. So we are kind of we were a model for the Katie Holmes and all that before it became popular. But I'm really excited to be back the second year. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and to kick off the year right with these racial equity and social justice grants. So thanks.
Well, hello, my name is Roger Lusala. This is my last year on the commission, sadly. This is my third year. I've been in Iowa City over 20 years. I moved here from California, but I'm a native of Congo in Africa. So after my undergrad, I came to University of Iowa to do my grad school, and I stayed. So I'm a willing captive. So my wife and I, we have a blended family. We have 7 girls. Some of them out of college. We have 2 that live in New York. We have 2 freshmen in college right now, one at Iowa and one at Iowa State. So we have house divided. We have a junior in high school at City High, a sophomore at City High, and our last one is a 7th grader at Southeast. For my daytime job, I'm a CEO of a large human service company here that we serve people with disability. And my free time, I do a lot of things just involved in the community. I've been coaching soccer for a local nonprofit, Iowa City Kickers, for over 20 years. So I play soccer in college and in high school as well, so I love doing that. I'm very involved in the community. I serve on few community organization boards, and I just love being part of the Human Rights Commission because we're always advancing the human rights issue forward. What really got me to join the Human Rights Commission, besides all the work that I was doing with diversity, inclusion, and equity, it was the event of George Floyd that really got me to say, okay, now I'm not gonna walk behind the scene, because I do a lot of things behind the scene. I manage Métis campaign and all that stuff. So then I really wanted to be in the forefront and pushing our city forward. We live in a very diverse city, and it's a great city, but we wanted to keep going forward. I really believe in representation matters. So, I push our friends from our Iowa City Area Chinese Association to join the commission and be represented. We have representation from a lot of places, but I really like to have people from all backgrounds be represented. Hopefully, my next push is to get somebody in the Latin community to join the commission as well, so we can have representation of all people and all of us working together, moving this city forward. So welcome to all of you guys, new ones. Looking forward to working with you guys hand in hand. So.
I'm Janvi. I'm from India and I got here in August 2021. I'm doing my PhD in counseling psychology, which is also in the College of Ed. I did my master's in counseling and briefly worked in India as a therapist. And now, currently I'm seeing clients who are refugees, and also now probably will start looking at clients who in the shelter house. So I'm very passionate about working with the underrepresented population. And back in India, I did a lot of work with, I worked with juveniles in detention centers. There was a lot of human rights violation, especially based on religious discrimination. And I was very passionate about working with them. And currently, I also hear stories of a lot of violation of human rights. And I think that is what drives me to be here and to work here. Yeah, and personally, my entire family is back in India. So I enjoy being in spaces like this, which is like family to me.
Hello everyone, my name is Ahmed Ismail. I'm originally born and raised in Sudan. Moved to Iowa City in like 2007 or 2006. Lived in Pheasant Ridge and went to high school here, and then eventually after high school went to Iowa State University where I studied industrial engineering, and while in school taught myself how to code and currently work as a software engineer at Capital One. I have a diverse set of experiences that range from doing research for the DOE, starting a BLM chapter, studying abroad in the UK, and then working on the national board for the National Society of Black Engineers, where I helped create a strategic vision to graduate more black engineers on an annual basis while working with Fortune 500 companies to do so. After doing that for 2 years, decided to step down to get more involved locally. And that's kind of the reason I joined the Iowa City Human Rights Commission. Wanted to see what I could do on the local level and how I could help out in the city here. And looking forward to working with you all.
I'm Bijou Maliabo, and I've been in Iowa City for 24 years, from the Republic Democratic of Congo. I am a mom of 4 kids, 15, 10, 8, and 7. My day job, I'm an interpreter for the courts, the school district. I also counsel a lot of young kids. The reason why I joined the human rights is I believe in speaking for the people's voice, that the people that don't have voices, that want to speak but they cannot speak for themselves. And as a woman, I've been through a lot, I've seen a lot, and sometimes as a woman your voice doesn't count even if it's strong. And there's a lot of women, there's a lot of men, there's a lot of kids that want to express themselves but they cannot. So I want to be able to be that person that speak for them, and I believe that the people's right is human right. Thank you, and welcome, guys.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Kelsey Paulchance. And I joined the commission just last year, in the middle of the year, and mid-cycle too. I filled in for someone else in their space that was vacated. And really, I'm here because in my day job, I've been working for the last 5.5 years on the prevention of mass violence and atrocities internationally. And really what that means at a structural level and when you're working across communities, and really emphasizing the community leaders who are doing a lot of social cohesion efforts, and how that is just so powerful, no matter where you're talking about in the world. Every community is at risk of mass violence and violence of all kinds, and those violence, different types of violence relate to one another. And so what that means is different types of peace relate to each other too. And our opportunity to build that in our communities is phenomenal. So I'm here because I'm passionate about peace building and change and elevating those voices who know solutions that work within the community, and how we can think about that and how we can promote human rights throughout that as well. And so, frankly, every time we get together, I'm just so excited to hear about what all of you are doing, and so excited too for the agendas that we have before us. I live on the east side with my husband and our small dog, and as I mentioned, I've been here for 5 years now, but I had grown up in Iowa, in a small rural community, very poor, actually the poorest county in Iowa. And I left thinking that I would never have the opportunity to return, working on international policy and getting my policy degrees, my master's degrees, and then I was in DC and I saw this job in Eastern Iowa come up, and that helped me to return. So I'm here, and it's truly a joy, and it's wonderful to get to meet so many new members of the commission tonight. Thanks.
Good. You guys are full of resumes. So maybe the last one and has a little. Anyway, my name is Badri Kuku. I'm originally from Sudan. When I say Sudan, the indigenous of Nuba people, which has to do with Nuba Kush, if you are familiar with the history. Due to the violation of the human rights, I flee from my country and I became a refugee in Cairo. And luckily I was sent to Dallas, Texas, 6 years in Dallas. Then due to the war of Iraq, I just signed to go to Iraq as an interpreter for 4 years, serving with the special force, because I really want to mention this because you might actually just read it, but it has a lot to do with a lot of work to clear things, change things, and help people. And there are like a lot of violations while I was actually overseas. And then I finished my deployment in 2011. I came to Lincoln, Nebraska, because I moved my family from Dallas to Lincoln, Nebraska, due to my wife sees a lot of things on TVs. I was once seen there, and then she said, like, you come back. I can't do that because I'm gonna betray my units. Anyway, I came to Iowa City because of school. Once upon a time, I talked to the Foreign Minister Nur Maliki and Lloyd Austin, who is the Minister of Defense. They encouraged me to go back to school. Due to a lot of work that I did a lot of diplomats, and that was so successful. And then I came to Iowa City. I go to Kirkwood Community College, and then transfer to the University of Iowa. And I really picked what could actually combine to what I actually was serving. So I go for international relations. And I graduated like last December. And my hobby is soccer. Since I was a kid, I love soccer. I'm a certified coach by the state. And I love community. Stephanie knows that because we've been actually working a lot with communities. When it comes to human rights, I think there are a lot has to be done. And even if we have like double of people to do that, still there are like things that you can't see. People want to complain, but they kind of like hesitant. But luckily, actually, you guys are actually doing awesome job. And I'm actually trying to be on the board with you guys. I hope I can add something, and I can't wait for that. So excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
Wow, what an impressive.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Veronica May. I actually work with the Iowa City Police Department. I am in the Outreach Division. So I am coming to these meetings to make sure that the lines of communication are open between the police department and the community. I am a non-sworn officer, so I am just a civilian. I say that as if it's not much, but my job is to make sure that I help bridge the gap between the community and our police department. So I'm out here on the streets teaching folks about police procedures, things that they may not be aware of. The immigrant and refugee community can sometimes not know what policing is like in the United States, so I do take part in those events as well. And I hope to build a transparent and very open relationship with the community where they feel like they can discuss things with me, ask questions, give suggestions on how they would like to be policed, or if they have any suggestions on the way that we interact with the individuals in our community. And I hope that I can bridge the gap between the community and the police department. And a little bit about myself. Let's start from the beginning. I am East Indian. I'm from India as well. I actually immigrated to Canada when I was quite young, about 4 years old, and I guess I'm Canadian. It's the where I lived the most anyway. And in Canada, I'll be honest with you, I come from a really adverse background. My father experienced alcoholism. My parents did not get along. I was in foster care. So I grew up in the system, and then I ended up going to school and living there for quite some time, and I met my husband here, and I ended up actually moving here, and now I am hopefully soon to be American. Yeah, that's the background about me. Outside of that, I do have a son. My son is nonverbal and autistic. He's incredibly intelligent, and just eye-opening how I've learned to communicate with someone who has difficulty verbally communicating. And it's just eye-opening how you can build a relationship with someone without having to say a word. Yeah. So.
Where in Canada are you from?
I think anyone who's been an immigrant can attest, but we started in Toronto, Ontario, and then we went to a few different cities in Alberta and ended in Calgary, Alberta, where I was raised for the majority of my youth. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make it quick, but I just want to welcome everyone here. I'm excited for another year of serving as staff to the Human Rights Commission. For those of you who this might be the first time you're seeing me, my name is Stephanie Bowers. I'm the Human Rights Coordinator for the city. So in that position, I staff the commission, and I also enforce the anti-discrimination laws for the city. If somebody feels they've been discriminated against, they can come in and file a complaint, and the investigator in the office will take a look at that, and then it's my responsibility to take the law and the factual basis and make a determination on that particular complaint. We currently get maybe 45 to 50 complaints in a year. Most of those are based upon race or disability. When I say race, oftentimes people think it's black and white, but oftentimes it's intra-racial complaints that are occurring. So that is usually what we're investigating is either race or disability. Let's see. I also am the equity director for the city, so I work with city departments on using an equity lens to review their policy, services, and procedures to see where we have deficiencies, where we have gaps, and then we report out each year in an equity report. And so that allows us to take the data that we have to either adjust, do things different, do things better, so that we can constantly keep moving forward in this fight for justice. I've been with the city, I think, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm born and raised in Iowa City, and anybody who probably knows me knows my mom's my best friend, so if you see me out, that's usually who I'm with, and that's why I continue to wear this. So that is my story, but thank you. So, moving on, I am going to open up the floor to nominations for chair for the 2023 commission cycle.
I nominate Roger Lusala.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, I will close nominations and take a vote. So it has been moved and seconded to elect Roger Lusala as the chair of the commission for 2023. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
You guys really trust me to do that?
Anyone abstaining? Congratulations, Roger Lusala.
Thank you. I humbly accept you guys, and hopefully looking forward working with all of you guys to advance the human rights mission, and all of us can work together. So thank you. I trust, I don't know what to say, so thank you.
Congratulations.
And I didn't ask you if you were going to accept it or reject it.
No choice there.
So next we will do the nominations for vice chair. Vice chair, of course, serves in the absence of the chair. I think the chair and the vice chair both kind of have a leadership role, and particularly in terms of your larger events like the Youth Awards or the Human Rights Awards breakfast. Usually there's going to be some speaking engagements with.
Yeah.
Oh, Roger, why you let me still do it?
You're doing so well.
I need to hand it over to you to do that.
All right, so, for the vice chair, I would nominate Sylvia Jones as the vice chair. Not just this past year, Sylvia has been very impressive as a new member of the commission. The work that she has accomplished for the commission was just amazing. And another thing, why I'm also nominating her, that I get off the board this year, she still stays. So that way, leadership will kind of transition instead of finding ourselves in this position that we don't have a chair or a vice chair because they both got off the commission at the same time. But it's really because of her work, her leadership, and the work that she does, not only for the city, but internationally. She's a great leadership for the commission. So that's my motion. I motion to nominate Sylvia Jones as a vice chair.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded. Sylvia, I assume you are accepting? Okay. To elect Sylvia Jones as the Vice Chair of the Human Rights Commission for 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, we'll move on to what we're really here to do, which is to do the work of Human Rights Commission. So we're gonna move to item 7, which is Racial Equity and Social Justice Grant. For those of you new to the commission has a budget of $100,000 that we give out yearly. Actually, it used to be $25,000. Then we asked the council to increase it. They increased it to $25,000 to $75,000. Last year we asked them again to increase it, and finally they increased it to $100,000. We're gonna keep asking them to increase it because we get so many applications, we get so many work happening here in our community with so many great organizations. So we have a report from last year. We're not gonna dive into the new stuff yet, but we have a quarterly report for one of the organizations that we gave the grant last year, and it's in our packet. So all those organizations that received the grant, they'll give us quarterly reports, and in that quarterly report, it's gonna tells us how they're spending that fund that they're getting and the programming that they're using. So.
And Roger, I'm just going to interrupt. So we haven't come to the conflict of interest, but some commissioners definitely have conflicts.
Yes.
And so not everyone has the
big
packet of submissions
yes.
of the grants in front of them.
Yes.
So if you're looking like, where's mine? That's why, but we can go over that when we get to the government.
Yeah, when we get to that stuff.
Yeah.
So the reports, it's in there. This one, it came from Great Plain. We gave them some grants for the event that they put on every year. I don't know if any of you attended. It was last November. It's called Truth Giving. So it's really celebrating our Native American friends and talking about the meaning of Thanksgiving. I attended that event. It was just amazing. The stories that they were telling. They had a group coming from Sioux City that did some of the traditional chant, and it was a great event, and just teaching the people of Iowa City about the Native American community here in Iowa City. And we are lucky to have such a big community that accepts our friends from the Native American. So they got $5,000 last year, and this is just the report that they submitted to us. So I don't know if everybody got a chance to review. If anybody has any question for them, then we'll send those questions to Stephanie, then she can ask the commission. I believe they're also gonna have that event this year as well. So I encourage you guys, when that event comes, to attend it. You'll just be amazed. You'll learn so much about the truth meaning of Thanksgiving and the work that they are doing. So and it's usually around Thanksgiving time. If we don't have any question on the report, we'll move on to the next item, which we asked in the Racial Equity and Social Justice Grant. The second item B is conflict. Because many of us are involved in a lot of organizations in the community that applies for the grant as well, Stephanie always asks if anybody has any conflict, and then they recuse themselves from being part of the actual grant discussion. So, do we have any conflict?
Yeah,
So we
I have
do.
a conflict.
Okay.
I'm on
I also have.
So we have Bijou, Ahmed, Babri, and John V are part of the conflict. So,
And if they could just state why, so it's on the.
yes, if you can state why, then we can move on.
What?
State why you have a conflict.
Okay, I am doing my practicum at IC Compassion.
Okay.
I'm also involved with UAY and Open Heartland, where I do a women's group.
Okay. So I know UAY is one of the applicants, IC Compassion is one of the applicants, and
Open Heartland.
Open Heartland is one of the applicants as well. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you get a freebie. You get to sit up when we start discussing the grant.
So I have to step out?
No.
Oh, okay.
We don't discuss the grant until February, actually.
Okay.
So now we're just looking at the conflict that we have. So,
Yeah, I'm on the board for the Neighborhood Centers of Johnson County, who is one of the organizations that applied.
okay.
I'm also on the board for the Center for Worker Justice. That's why I absolutely quiz myself.
Okay.
Well, I'm not really sure whether it's going to be considered a conflict, but I'm just a member. But when you actually go back, I was like twice the president of the Sudanese community,
Okay.
and I got involved in so many budgets and so many things.
So, and the Sudanese Association community also
Yes.
applied for that. So I would consider that a conflict,
Yeah.
actually. Yes.
Not because of your past service, but because of your current involvement.
Your current member.
Yeah.
Good.
So that leaves Kelsey, Doug, Suyan, Sylvia, and me. When we start really doing the
And
work
Kelsey,
of,
I wasn't, do you have any?
No.
Good, perfect, okay. I wasn't sure, so let me get you your special. You're gonna love me after you have all this reading.
I'm really excited, actually.
I tell
love
you
grants.
guys, when you start, and for those of you that even have conflict, I'd encourage you to read the package, to really see all the work that is going on in our community. And every year we get this request. We don't have enough money to, we wish we can fund more organization, and we just never have enough money. So I really will encourage you that have conflict, even though you're not gonna be participating on the decision making of awarding the grant. I encourage you to read it. This year we had a new application which we revised last year. We also have new rubric form out to score the grant as well. So this will be the first time we'll be using those. We kind of simplifies the grant to make it easier for all those applicants. We also kind of simplifies the way we score the grant as well. And I believe in our February meeting, that's actually when we decide and make decision in the actual grant, who we're gonna award. So yes, you are still part of the meeting. You're just not gonna be taking part in the decision of who gets the grant, who doesn't. So for the month of before the February meeting, then everybody will go read the grants that they have and score it. Stephanie's gonna give us a date when we all turn in our score so she can make the calculation, and when we come for our February meeting, we'll kind of have the ranking of what organizations score the most. Then we kind of open it up for discussions on, why did you score like that? Why do you think this organization should get that grant? And we just go from there. It's usually a very nice civil discussion, and we get to learn a lot about the organization. Me personally, I always look into some of the newer organizations coming in first to really review them to see, what is some new things that's going on in our community. We have some organizations that will come every year, couple years in a row, and one of the questions we always ask, if you don't get the grant, would your project move on? will project keep sustain itself. So me personally, and this is just me, when I get the grant, I look at all those organizations that did not apply last year or did not get the grant last year. Look at some of the new things that they're looking into, because it's easier to say, well, we gave it to this organization last year, let's just give them again, because we know of the work that they do. By then, and then you miss out on all those new organizations coming in with some amazing things that are going on in our community. So always keep in mind it's racial justice, and that we're looking into, and we're looking into most of the time into programming. What kind of project and how is that going to advance human rights and social justice in our community. And I personally try to refrain from some organizations will ask money to buy a car, and I always look into how can we look into project that really involves human being and advancing social justice. So that's just my take on it. So for the new people, as you're talking about that. Anything else, Stephanie?
I was just going to point out a few things. So for those of you who are reviewing, we sometimes, not only do board members have commissions, but conflicts, but sometimes people who apply have conflicts. And so, unfortunately, these are already printed, but so the Iowa City Coralville Boxing Club, you'll need to, I think I took a Sharpie to everybody's and just cross that one out, which means when you're ranking them, you're getting 20. 20 would be your highest score, so to speak, and then you'll be asked to grade them, but then based upon the grade, you give a ranking. And since there's 20 submissions, 20 would be the top, and of course 1 would be your least likely to fund. But I'll explain all that in an email that I send out later. But I wanted to let you know about the Iowa City Coralville Boxing, and then Great Plains Action Society, because the director serves on another board. She can, the max is 6,000, even though the application says 6,500. So if you look at the application, it will say 65, but if you elect to provide the organization with funding, they would be capped at that 6,000.
That's because she serves at the TRC?
Correct.
Okay.
And then the handout that I gave allows reviewers to know if an organization is a past recipient, and if so, how many times, and also if they've already received the award. And as Roger mentioned, unfortunately, you don't have the time, nor do you want to go back and trace the full history. But this grant was, the origins of it were really to kind of give up-and-coming and emerging organizations an opportunity to do great things in our community. And that is why, when considering applications, I think that it's fair to say that the expectation is that you do look at whether they've been funded before. One of the questions that applicants are required to answer is whether or not they've received funding from the city in the past 3 years, and if so, how much. And that was a question specifically put on by past commissioners, because they wanted to make sure that city funds were not going to all the same organizations here, and so that they're spread out a little more evenly. So most of the questions that people are required to answer are based upon kind of the origins of the grants. So, and all of the requirements are at the top of each submission. So we just put all of that stuff right in front. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, like say you're reading it and something doesn't make sense or you need clarification, if you can send me a note and let me know what the question is, I'll reach out to that particular organization and get a response, and then I send that response to everybody who's evaluating the grant so that everybody gets the same information. But we prefer for you not directly to just reach out to the organization, but to send any inquiries through me.
I'll say that we really worked hard this is kind of a new version of both the grant application and the rubric, to streamline the application, to make it more accessible, to really hone in on what is it that we want to know and take out any other extra questions. But then also as a reviewer to pair so that when you're reading the application that the rubric's really following the proposal, and so that it becomes easier to connect what you're reading in the application to what we're deciding on whether or not they should receive a grant or not. So the rubric should pair really nicely with the proposal. That's our hope. That was our hope with this.
You know, I kind of want to go back and touch on what Stephanie said. So, you know, city does reward a lot of grants in a lot of different commission that we have here. So it's really important to look into if they receive funding from the city, where and how much, because we don't want all this, like Stephanie said, we don't want all the city funding to be going just to same organization, because we have some organization that will get money from the home and community development grant, and they'll get money from the homeless grant, and they'll get direct funding from the council, and also they'll come for some of those grants. We probably one of the group that awards the smallest grant. I think we have 100,000, and some of the organizations, you know, when they go to the housing and community development, they're rewarding $800,000, $1 million. So some of those organizations, they get big pot of money from a lot of those areas. So that's kind of why I'm touching bases, and I want to make sure that the money that we're giving, because we only have so much funding, it goes really to the services or direct to really provide an impact. That's why me personally, I don't look into, you know, if an organization want to purchase a van for their services, you know, there is a funding stream for that, aids to agency or community development. They can apply to those things from there. But this grant is really kind of restricted to what we do. You know, it's the racial equity and social justice hours that are really promoting that and funding that, so we can make our community better. So pay attention to those things.
And for those of you not evaluating, if you want some late night reading, the link to all of the submissions is on the Human Rights Commission website. So if you just wanted to go in and kind of look at them, they're there for the public's view and also for yours. So.
Just to tell you, when I joined the commission, this was actually, I think it was my first meeting that I joined. It was boom, you know, I got this book that I have to read, all those things. So
Roger,
yes,
I can see and understand the policy that, you know, as a Human Rights Commission do, because you don't want to actually have, like, at the end of the day, you give like too many entities or bodies,
yeah,
no more money. But do other commissions do the same thing, or they have a free of allocating money, you know, even though, like, you know, we give them and then they know we give them and then they give them? So how did that work?
Well, because a lot of commissions, you know, it's strict reason why they're applying for it. So like the housing and community development, it's based on either home fund or public facility fund. So they're looking at either fixing their facility or something like that, or home fund, they provide affordable housing in a community. If you go to aids to agency, that's money that sometimes, you know, it can help fund a position or fund a purchase of vehicle or computers and things like that. So our grant is really specific to this racial equity and social justice. So we try to look into that. I don't know if other organizations look into how much we give an organization, because we have the smallest grant. So we look into how much other organization, how much other commission give to, because they have bigger grant. So, you know, if you look into how much, you know, what people have asked here, we are way above 200,000, and we only have so much to give. So I know when in the housing and community development grant, they also have that question about did you get money from the city and where? And I also know when we look into here, we always, I don't think we have any this year, but in the past we were looking to, if it's let's say a government entity that asking for the grant, and sometimes we'll cross them off because they already gave public dollars. For example, last year there was Iowa City Community School District asking for a grant, so we crossed them out because they already received public dollars. We also had, I think, Kirkwood Community College. We also had the University of Iowa asking for grants. So we look at it like those entities already get public funding in filtered to their entity. So we automatically disqualify those applicants.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that, when I was actually in Sudan serving one of the NGOs working among the refugees, It is called Christian Outreach. They were working among the Eritrean refugees. And the donors, actually, they always ask us to write proposal or projects. We all actually go on the same category of how to write the best kind of project. And then, most of us actually, we don't get money. And then the donors actually come to the country, and they came specifically to answer these kind of questions. But there was actually a policy why they not actually approve that budget, that money. Because, they don't want to actually end up, giving money, and then the money is going to end up into the bad guys.
Yes.
That's the reason.
Yes. And, we talk about it over here about inviting all those people that apply for the grant to answer some questions. I know some commission that are giving big dollars do that, but usually if we have questions, we just send it to Stephanie, then Stephanie will send it to the entity and they'll give us answer on those things, because sometimes as a commission we have so much work going on that it's gonna take a couple meetings to get everybody in to answer those questions on one by one. But if we have questions, we send it to Stephanie to ask.
It's also a matter of access.
Yes,
too.
a matter of access as well. And another thing I kind of wanted to say also, when you're reviewing those grants, pay attention to the content, because we have organizations in town that have professional grant writers. So you read it, you're like, wow, this person should get the grant. And you have other organizations that's so small, it's probably based on all volunteer, they have no grant writing experience, they're just trying to put something together. So pay attention to the content on what is that project, where that money is gonna go, what is it gonna do? Because there's some application that you read it, you're just blown away. You're like, I'm gonna give them all the money, but they have somebody that makes $100,000 just to get grant. So those are things that as a commission we just have to keep it in the back of our head. Am I reading a professionally written grant request, or am I reading that this is a really starting up organization that just needs some funding? For example, we gave last year, that was 2 years ago, we gave $3,000 to the Iowa City Area Chinese Association to put on this event that we all attended here. I think that $3,000 multiplied probably 1,000 times just to see the number of people, community members that came to that event. We had probably 500 people in that event to learn about the Chinese culture and all that stuff. I think that $3,000 for them to put on that event, it made our community better. So it's those things that we look into. And they were first time applicants. They just asked for $3,000, and they didn't rank very high. But some of us were like, well, let's look into this one, and it was the best $3,000 we gave an organization. So just look at the content, because there's a lot of people that all they do is write grants. So
It's nice to.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
I think it's also important, as being here as human rights, we're not here to just discuss what we read. It's important to know these organizations, to take your time. You're not just to read the proposal, but to know more about what they do, what they've been doing, how they are involved in the community. I think it's important to have that relationship, to understand why they do what they do. Some people might have great grant writers. Some people might put in events, but that's not exactly what they're doing once they get the grants. But if you have that relationship and trying to know who they are and the reason behind that, it'll make it easier when you guys are moving forward for other grants. Wait, am I supposed to make comments?
yes, you can make that. You just can't make the decision on who gets the grant.
I apologize.
Give the advice.
Actually, can I say something on that point? Because I just wanted to acknowledge so many people are new here, and our very first major task you're not able to participate in. And I think I actually want to commend you and applaud you, because your conflicts of interest represent the role that you're playing in the community.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I please, I hope it doesn't feel exclusive, and that I hope someday the entire Human Rights Commission has a conflict of interest and is represented by those who are conducting human rights work within the community. So thank you for being here, and there'll be we'll be sure to get you in the next thing.
There's work to be done. For
Good point, Chelsea. Well, there's a lot of work to be done, and we are very happy to have you guys and joining us in these fights and the work that we do. So,
Thank
so don't get discouraged because you're not making the decision on a grant. You can still read it. You can still see the amazing work going on in our community that we don't know. Every time I read this, I'm like, wow. It's just amazing what's going on in this community that we don't. Sometimes we stay so busy in our day-to-day life that we don't.
And to Bijou's point, and that's next on our agenda, one of our committees is really focused on building that relationship with grant recipients.
Yes.
And making sure that we don't just give the funding and then get the quarterly reports, but that there's an active person from the commission who's there with them as a partner, a true partner, and a relationship throughout their grant year and beyond.
Any more discussion or questions on the grant before we move forward?
So Stephanie, you'll follow up with us. We'll have. Do we have kind of an Excel sheet?
Yeah, there's
Yes,
an
we'll
Excel
have
sheet
that.
where you put in your point total.
Okay, that's what I remember.
And
Okay.
then they'll average them and then they'll rank them in a cumulative.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a date or you'll just set the
She'll
date?
send us the dates
Okay.
on when we should turn in our stuff, right?
Yeah, it would be I'll send the date out, but it would be the Friday before. I usually post your packets on Tuesday.
Mhm.
So if I could have the information that Friday, I can get it, turned around so that it can publish in the packet on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I'll send that out with the actual date.
So don't wait until then. Start doing some night reading. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. 1 a night.
Yeah, 1 a night. If you can do more than 1 a night. Okay. All right, moving on. Item 8. This is the Commission Committee overview and assignment and update. So, as a Human Rights Commission, we have 3. It's in your book. So everybody got this fancy book, thanks to Stephanie. Guys, I'm just gonna tell you that Stephanie's a jam. She always keeps us. She makes all of us look good. I'll tell you that.
You're very kind.
What number are we looking at, Stephanie?
Tab 4, page 5.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you don't have them, let me know because after a while that task you could overlook it. So if it doesn't happen, I can get that.
So last year, the commission went to strategic planning. Tab 4, page 5. Last year, the commission went through a lengthy strategic planning when we kind of look at our responsibilities and what we do and the responsibility that we are assigned by the city, and we came up with goals. That's what it's in this book that you're getting. In that process, we established 3 subcommittees. One of the committee is Breaking Bread. Any member here that we have in the Breaking Bread committee? So Doug is the sole member of the Breaking Bread because other people have
Me,
got
Jason, and Ashley. So
yes, it was Doug, Jason, and Ashley. They both of them got off the commission. So Doug is the sole member right here, and so before we finish discussing this, we're gonna assign some member to that committee. So each new member over here will have a new committee assignment where. We're not gonna force you to go there, but we're gonna ask you which one you feel you are aligned with.
Can y'all tell us more about these committees and what they entail?
Yes. So I'm actually gonna have each of the members that's serving on this committee to kind of give you a little bit of overview on that. So we start with Doug, your committee.
All right, great. So yeah, Breaking Bread is a way for the commission to reach out to the community, to educate the community on the existence of our commission and the work that we do. One of the things that we did last year was we did a kind of coffee and cocoa with the commission. Did anyone attend that? I had a conflict. No,
I was actually out of town.
yeah, all right. But no, it was at the public library, and members of the commission were there to meet the community, talk about the work we do. We also kind of try to get out in the summer to the neighborhood parties, neighborhood gatherings and festivals, and have a table there along with other areas of the community. I think the police department does something similar, so we're kind of modeling along with that. So those were just a couple examples of the things that we did before, but yeah, Breaking Bread is, as you can kind of see there, the goals there on page 5, to increase our interaction among community members, educate the community on our commission, the work that we do, and their rights, and what sort of recourses they have, and the ordinances, and what is discrimination, and ways that they can get support when they face those sorts of situations. So it's a lot about education and outreach to the community.
And another part of that is also connecting face with the work of the community. So, usually the commission is this thing over here that people are, when they have complaints or they have things that they file to us, we want people to be comfortable with the commissioner. And so when we get into the community, they're putting face with names, so it'll be easier for people to tell us their stories when they need to tell us their stories. So that's why it's Breaking Bread. So think about it. The second one, I think Bijou was part of it.
Me?
Oh,
Do
Kelsey.
you mean the next on this list or that list? Because
Breaking Bread is one, and the second one is regular reciprocal relationship.
RR.
That's RRR. We had 3 members in our subcommittee. It was me, Siri, who got off the commission, and Sylvia. So I'll let Sylvia talk a little bit about the work that we do.
So this is an extension of what I was mentioning before. While Breaking Bread is really focused on the community at large, I think the regular reciprocal relationships is really focused on the organizations, community organizations, building and deepening engagement with those organizations. We had thought that it might make most sense to focus in on the grant recipients as part of this. So for this next year, those that are selected, that whoever is on this committee, we would divide the grant recipient organizations up amongst the 3 or 4 individuals on the committee, and then we would be, as an individual, in charge of building that relationship, checking in with them, bringing back information to the commission, and just deepening the engagement there.
Kind of being the liaison between the commission and our organization. We want to increase the grant experience. We want to make sure that those organizations that are getting the grant, they're doing what they say they're going to do. And we're following up on that. But we're also visiting with them and providing resources if they need resources. Because, we have our equity office, we have a lot of things that they might need, but they don't know where to get it, so we can connect them with the city to provide those things. So we want to do it with other organizations that we work with, but we're starting first with the people that we are awarding the grant.
As a pilot.
As a pilot. So. And it's just the 2 of us right now, so we're going to need another willing member to join us.
Doug, you didn't request anything.
This is your
I thought that was
recruitment
implied. Yes, obviously, there will be 2 more people to join me.
Then the next one is Bridging the Gap.
Okay, so Bijou and I are 2 on this committee, and we have been working with Mark, who recently finished his term on the commission, and you might have seen him actually as we were just getting started today. He was dropping by, and really with this one, we renamed ourselves early on in the process from Bridging the Gap to Building Bridges. The reason being is that Bridging the Gap demonstrates in its language and use of language that we presume that there's a distance. And really what we're actually about is the extension of the hand. And narrowing that, so it's two things can mean the same thing, but we felt it was important to switch to building bridges instead. What we are about is really fulfilling the Human Rights Commission strategy and work related to developing, as you can see in this booklet, relationships with the City Council, but we've also expanded that through collective conversations because our community leaders aren't just sitting within the City Council. They are all across our community. And so really how we might be able to listen to community leaders, identify those people who are community leaders, understand what they're doing for human rights, understand what they need from organizations across the city, and making sure that they're well connected. So there's a lot of overlaps with what you've already heard from the first two committees in regards to our strategy area of work. This is inclusive of the City Council too, so if that's one of your interests, it's not that we're excluding them, they're just one group that we are considering in how we think about the Human Rights Commission and the strategy in order to bridge work across the community. The goals that are in here, we do still use those, but we are thinking, for example, instead of a regular coffee with a council member, or in addition to that, actually setting up similar to what you heard about hot cocoa with a commissioner, maybe it's hot cocoa with a community leader. And so we've been talking about creating a list of community leaders who maybe in regards to what Veronica was saying earlier, might want better access to the community, might to make sure that they know that there are resources available through their organization, and facilitating those dialogues and discussions.
You said it right, all of it, but I just want to add also, the leaders, they're making these decisions, based on what they're receiving. So trying to understand why they make these decisions, and also to encourage them to have this relationship and connections with the community, or with the people, with the organization, so they know why they're making this decision, so they can make better decisions as well. I talked to Kelsey the other time. I'm an interpreter in court, but I do so much more, and now judges are interested in trying to find out, because I encourage everybody. I'd be like, you're a judge, but you read the report they give you to make judgment on that based on this person, but do you really know what's going on in the community? If you get out and you understand, you have this relationship, you make it easier for you to make the decision, not based on what you read from other people experience, but your own experience as well. So with the city councils and leaders, the same thing.
And as commissioner, you are all appointed by city council members, so we want to encourage you to have relationship with them. We want you to reach out to them. If it's you're new today, some of us can facilitate those relationships. We can have coffee with the council member, and maybe it's a three-way first. You get comfortable talking to city council, then you can fly solo with the next one, things like that. So we really want you to connect with those city council, because they appointed you to this commission. So there's a reason they appointed you. How can we work with them to make sure that we are seeing eye in eye with issue that matters to the Human Rights Commission? So how can we reach out to our council people to make sure that we're having those discussions? They're making the decision, but we need to have their ear so we can tell them what we feel is important to the community, to the commission. So when they're making those decisions, it matters.
Also, we're doing recommendation to them to make the decision. So getting to know them, maybe attend the meeting sometimes, and have time to speak, or just have conversation with them. So it's important.
At each council meeting, in the beginning, they always have comment time, 5 minutes of item that it's not in the agenda. Those are always good time. You can also come to the council meeting and just introduce yourself. Tell them commission, you're from the Human Rights Commission. You just wanted to introduce yourself and thank them for the appointment, and you start building relationship like that. So next time you call them, they pick up the phone because they recognize the name, the person, and they are interested in what you have to say. So it's important.
I'll say I forgot to mention for the regular reciprocal relationships goal number 2, which is there, and that's really about trying to build relationships in order to co-sponsor and host kind of programs and events, and monthly we try to, whatever month is in celebration or in honor, we try to do something, but sometimes we haven't been as successful as we'd really like to be. So that's part of the strategic area of work too, and that commission as well.
Before we get to assignment, I also want to, try it. If you sitting on the R&R and you feel like your interest really lies with the breaking bread, there's no rules that say you stop there. You can work with a couple subcommittee, but one subcommittee and see, maybe your idea is really now with the grantee experience and things like that. Maybe it is really connecting with the city council. Any member of this group can connect with all those commissions. You can be part of the COCO with the commissioner, but you working on, we want to make sure that people are working with subcommittee. And another thing about subcommittee, we meet at least once a month before the actual meeting. So usually we can do it through Zoom, you can do it through in person. It's also the way to get to know other commissioner and developing that working relationship. And sometimes we have matters that comes to our attention that we need to address right away. It could be like, oh, okay, let's push that to this subcommittee to tackle it right away, because we deal with things all the time. Like you guys saw, today already we have a couple correspondence that we're gonna have to talk about later on. We have things that it cannot wait until the next meeting that need to be addressed. Then we'll pull a couple people together to work on it, or to work on the response, or to work on our addressing that. So we try to have all those subcommittee meet once a month before our scheduled meeting. So usually some of those meetings are an hour, 2 hours, just dealing with the goals that we have. And we have a uniform meeting minutes we take. So we make sure that we report at the following meeting. So
I'll just add too that, this strategy that you're reading, it was only finalized last year.
Yeah.
So all of these committees and what we've been describing, this is just 3 to 4 months of work.
Yes, it is.
So if you're feeling like, oh, this is really established, I don't know my role here or my place here, there is a place for you, and we'll really look forward to you being a part of any one of these committees. So.
And your ideas are welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
This can
It's
be
fluid, completely.
changed and everything else, so feel free to.
Yeah.
As a commission, we're always reinventing ourselves. We're always looking at where we can do better, and also step in, get your hand dirty. So. That being said,
What's our procedure here? Do I have the opportunity for questions, or are they deciding right now, or is it?
But what I can say is that Jennifer, who led the strategic planning, regardless of what you choose in terms of who goes where on what subcommittee, will meet with the new members via Zoom.
Yes.
She'll reach
Fantastic.
out to you.
Yeah.
And she'll give you, I think, like a half hour's kind of summary of how the commission got here and things. But yeah, it's up to you as a group how you want to proceed. If you feel today is too soon and people that's totally up to you.
I think we should open up questions. If you guys have any question on committee that you think you might be interested in, or anything like that.
Why are you pressuring them? Let them.
And I think the last time we did this, we didn't feel ready to make a decision, so I think we ended up ranking,
We had 1, 2, 3. Which one is the number one? Which is the number
which is
two?
an approach we could take.
But that was when we established the committee.
Yeah.
The committees. So
Yeah.
I'm personally interested in joining the Building Bridges Committee. If there's an opening there, I'd love to be part of that.
Building bridges was also my first preference. Breaking bread would be second, and RRR would be last, because I have a conflict of interest. So.
I would be happy to join the
All right. So we have first interest in building bridges. We have first interest on building bridges. Second one is on breaking bread. Okay, and we have first interest on joining the R&R.
I would love actually to go with the bridge in Gap. I think
Building bridges as well.
Yes, so I can see myself that that's something that we can do. So.
Okay, so we have so far one person that can jump into R&R, and we have about three people that can jump into building bridges. So we need some anybody in the existing community that wanna go to breaking bread.
You wanna try again?
What? Did you make another sales pitch?
All right, Doug.
Yeah, I can move from building bridges to breaking bread. That's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
I was also going to say that we can
You can
do
have
this
more
next
than one
month, can't we?
We can't.
I mean,
We
because
can't.
I think having that time with Jennifer would really help as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Then you're not relying on my
Yeah.
very poor sales pitch here tonight. But I think having that more information, getting a chance to read through the plan.
Yeah.
And you probably have some leanings now, but maybe and then we formalize it at our next meeting.
We can leave you with the
Would that be
leading,
okay?
and you can meet with Jennifer and Dan. You can either email Stephanie telling them which one you are strongly leaning forward to.
I'll
So,
second that. That's a good idea.
but Suyin already say R&R, so we're just gonna
Well,
keep her. So just
Don't be
take your
disappointed when she come back and change.
take your time, read through the plan that you got today. Have some time with Jennifer. Jennifer's amazing. She's our strategic planning facilitator, and then at the next meeting we can finalize the. I know we're gonna have a big agenda with the grants, but maybe in the beginning we can just do community assignment.
Would it help if they emailed Stephanie that rank of 1,
Yes.
2, 3?
I think that'd
we
be
go
great.
from there. Okay. All right. Do we need a formal motion for that?
Oh.
Okay.
No.
I don't think we need a
That's-
motion.
I was trying to say something else, sorry. I'll leave that on the table if anyone wants to move for that. I don't know if we need a formal motion after all.
Stephanie
For
said
what?
no. so-
No, we're good. We're good. Okay.
No, we don't need a motion for that.
Before we move on, I was just going to mention, so normally our agenda at this point in time when speaking about the committees, we would be providing an update
Yeah.
to our fellow commissioners. One of the things I wanted to propose for the year 2023 in going about these meetings is to maybe even also keep each other updated, especially when it comes to events.
Yeah.
So like I know the event that happened in December, I think several of us would have loved to have gone, but the information came a little bit late. So just, and things maybe flagging, we can do that throughout the month, but also just reaching out. And I think there's a lot of collaboration across all these different committees too.
Yeah.
So just opening that up and welcoming that when you are brainstorming with your committee, be sure to think about those who are on other committees that might want to pair together and work together for something.
I 100% agree, and I just want to throw out that I think that was because Jason and Ashley wanted to get that one last thing in
Absolutely.
before they left, so
Absolutely.
that's why it was
I
kind of
know,
like
yeah.
really quickly shoehorned into December.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. Yeah.
And I'm sure that some of you guys, new member, went through the open meeting law training. So usually if we have something to share or to talk to other commissioner, we'll email it to Stephanie. Then Stephanie can send that out, because if we have 3 members discussing an issue, then
More than 4.
if we have more than 4 discussing an issue, then it becomes a quorum that we need to make sure it's a public meeting and things like that. So if you have something that you wanna, you can send me an email, things like that. But but you can't send a group email to all the commissioner. It has to go to Stephanie, and Stephanie send it out, just because of the open meeting law. So are we good with that?
And conflicts don't matter with these committees.
Yeah, conflict don't matter with the
worry about
committees.
that. It's really when you're making a decision that will financially benefit an ordinance. So if that was the reason you were shying away from one, don't.
And I would even say that it's an asset in this
Yeah.
community.
It is
It's
an
probably
asset.
it's a good thing to have that existing relationship.
Do we want, so for those, so this might be, in your case, Doug, really difficult, but for those groups that are planning on meeting in the next month, do we want to just share that information with Stephanie? And then if for anyone who's curious about the group, you can just even come sit in on the first meeting if we're planning to meet before our February meeting?
That's a good idea. You can just listen.
Even just come get to know us if you want to just join the meeting too. It's usually just a chat over coffee or Zoom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for Doug's, since there's only one,
Mhm.
technically 3 people could go to his.
Yeah.
But some of the other ones,
We have to be careful.
you
Have to be
Yeah.
careful. We're
you
gonna only
probably
have
only
3.
one other person can come because that's gonna put you at 4 if you're at
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said that wrong, 2. 2 other people
Two more
can come because
people.
you're short, Mark, so.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, some of those meetings are Zoom. You know, it's I meet with Bijou when she's not Bijou, Sylvia when she's traveling the world. You know, she's in London, I'm in Iowa City, and we're doing Zoom in different hours because she's like 8 hours ahead, and so.
We'll say just if it sweetens the pot, but I'm going to try my sales pitch again. Breaking Bread tends to favor Big Grove as our meeting. So,
I think Breaking Bad is it's a really good committee. You know, when we established those committees, you know, we really couldn't be more than one. So that was a committee that I'm a big fan of. It's just talking to other people in the community, creating trainings, creating, you know, stuff that really that got us to serve on this commission. It's meeting people,
Yeah.
discussing issues, current issue, and things like that. So.
Education is a huge
Yeah.
piece too, and I think a lot of times we work with Stephanie in the office of equity and human rights on that. I think we did talk about one of the things we did another thing that we did, and we didn't do a whole lot of it because we had the idea, and Stephanie's like, oh well, these guys are already doing that. Was kind of if you're going home for the holidays and it's not the most safe environment for you, or you're expecting difficult conversations with family members, how do you navigate that? You know, and putting out some education around that, which was already covered by. I don't. Stephanie, was that your office or was
That
it
was
another
actually
group?
communications.
Okay, yeah. So, but there are things like that as an example.
Cool. I encourage all of you to read the menu that you got today. There's some good stuff in there that we worked very hard to put together, and Stephanie's office also worked really hard to put together for us. So it's some good guidance. Moving on. The next item in our agenda, it's Black History Month proclamation. So one of the things that commissioner also do sometime when the city council is doing a citywide proclamation, we accept those proclamations. I actually want to challenge the council to think, the commission to think broader. Think a little bit bigger on this one. Usually we have a event, Black History Month, and one of us will go represent the commission to accept that proclamation. I want us to think global. I want us actually to start, and we talk about this a little bit, I want us actually to start involving organization in the community that represents that cause. No, we haven't done it yet. We talk about it, but we haven't done it yet. So I actually like to start to do that this year. So if we're talking about accepting a proclamation, Black History Month, what are organizations in our community that really deal with, Black history? We have the Black Voices Project, all those organizations that I would like to say, the commission is accepting the award by inviting that group to come to the council meeting present and to give them the stage to say a couple words about the work that they are doing to advance that cause. So, this couple months, I have accepted a lot of the proclamation for the Martin Luther King. I did that with the city council, but I also did it with the board of supervisors. Usually we prepare remarks, but I want us to start thinking this year as if we're accepting for any cause, we try to reach out to the community to invite members of that community to come to the council meeting with us to accept that proclamation. So just I think it brings those people that are doing the hard work in front of the people that are making the decision, and I just representation matter. Like I keep saying that representation matter, and it can start with us. So we have a proclamation coming up here, Black History Month. Do you know when that's gonna be, Stephanie?
I do. It would be the 7th of February. Tuesday,
7th of February.
at 6 p.m. right across the hall.
I think I'll be back. Anybody interested in accepting this? I would like us to invite maybe the member of the Black Voices Project.
I will be available on the 7th.
Okay, so
What
John,
day is
will be
that?
available? It's a Tuesday. Council meeting is on a Tuesday.
Okay. What
It's
time?
the formal meeting starts at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m. Okay, I can make that.
So we'll have John V, we'll have Ahmed, and I think we can, I would like to invite the Black Voices to come to that council meeting and accept it with us.
I have a
So,
question. Can it be different type of organization that come together too?
Yeah, could it be like potentially
Yeah,
like
because
the
if you
Greek
have Black
life
Voice,
too?
there might be other group that might.
yeah, I like us to identify all the group that we can do, but we can pick one or two to come on that day because
Or have
it's usually in the beginning or a member of different group.
leaders,
Yeah.
their leaders to come and
Yeah.
do that. I think that would be. Okay.
Do you guys have all the
If you
group
guys
that you
have-
like to?
I just
Well,
wanted to put it.
I-
What I could propose is that with the subcommittee on building bridges, we could brainstorm this and we could propose some ideas, and then also you can send your ideas to us, and then we can share them back to Stephanie, and we can make sure that everyone's on board with that.
Are you talking about for this one on the 7th?
Yes.
This one is gonna come fast because
Yeah.
we usually have to let the council know fast.
What time? When do they need to know by?
Well, the proclamation's already been.
Proclamation is already done.
Yeah, so, I would say by this February 2nd, a Thursday. Then, by then, so that I can let the city clerk know, because the mayor needs to know what to say.
Yeah, mayor need to know
So
who's accepting
He
it.
likes to say, so-and-so from the Human Rights Commissioner, so-and-so from BDP.
Yeah.
So they don't want, so just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perhaps we can think about a way to continue to build that bridge beyond just having them do a proclamation, but then extending that relationship, whether it's, under reciprocal relationships, we'd love to put on some sort of, or collaborate, co-host events, just like making this a larger kind of involving each one of our groups and bringing it together, so we can almost kind of pass the baton throughout each month. Because I think we've had a number of missed opportunities this last year, and by having one group take on the first part and then kind of moving it through, it might ease the load, but also make a lot of sense for continuing a relationship, building it. All of that.
And this is something that council also want, when they're doing proclamation, they really would like a member of that community to accept it. The community, it doesn't, it's not putting anybody down, but if they're doing Asian hate proclamation, they would like a member of the Asian community to come accept that, because it's representation, but they can also speak from the heart when they're making that remark. If they're doing, Sudanese, they like a member of the Sudanese community to come accept that. And I think council's looking to us to kind of arrange those or introduce that, because I know Mayor Tig reminded me that let's not miss those opportunities when we're doing proclamation that we don't have representation from the community. It's just a better way to bring those community in front of the city leaders.
So are we inviting a speaker or people to just attend, or?
Well, usually when we have people to attend, the proclamation is 5 minutes. The mayor reads the proclamation and say this person will be accepting the proclamation. Then we give the people accepting it maybe a couple minutes to just make remarks. I accept this on behalf of this. This is why. This is, you can dive into I accepted the one for the Martin Luther King. I came up with 10 ways we can keep Dr. King's dream alive. And the city will publish those. It goes to the newspaper, goes to the city news, and it's recorded, so they put it on the city, things like that. So.
And if we're involving a number of community organizations, it probably makes the most sense to build out some sort of outline of a script so that each one has an idea that, we only have 5 minutes. We want to give everyone, equal time to speak, and just kind of setting those
I
expectations.
think I have been there when I was actually representing the Sudanese community, and I think the bottom line, they want to know for sure its representative will be coming.
Yes.
Right.
With maybe 2 or 3.
Yes.
And then they will be given an opportunity like for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has to be confirmed that they're gonna be there. So we can't have somebody that say, I might be there, or they don't show up. So it have to be confirmed that they're gonna be there. Then they'll be given a couple minutes to say something on behalf of their community representative.
But it's no pressure. You don't need to say anything. You can just go
I
and
think you should.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
I know
I think-
past leadership has felt differently, but
Yeah,
I think
you
if you're
should.
going to go in front of council, you
You
should.
need to have something.
You probably should.
So
Yeah.
if they have 4 or 5 people that's representing their
We can pick
community-
one person to say something. They not all
Oh,
have.
yeah.
yeah, I
Kind of
misunderstood what you were
guiding
saying. I
That's
thought
what
you
I
were saying
meant.
nobody was talking.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay,
no.
yeah.
But if you're going in front of the council accepting a proclamation, if they're taking their time to provide that proclamation, you accepting it, you should say something. It doesn't have to be all the people to say it.
Well, you remind me actually with the public speaking class. I know sometimes, when it comes to speaking in front of the public, there is an issue. But as long as there is a representative and then
Yeah.
there is a group with him,
Yep.
then you don't have to speak. Somebody
Yep.
might actually speak.
Yep.
on the
Correct,
group.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Kelsey?
I want to point out, it's kind of doubling down on something you've already shared, Sylvia, but that we should be mindful that we're not tokenizing individuals and groups.
No.
So this is a small thing. Accepting a declaration
Yes.
is a small but significant moment where you're able to kind of put someone in the spotlight. But to Sylvia's point, it is not as meaningful as it can be without actually continuing to develop those relationships
Yep.
and establishing spaces for that, which is why I'm hoping that, if it helps the committee, if it helps the commission, the Building Bridges subcommittee can meet and kind of brainstorm, what are the ways that we can continue to be thoughtful about this and thinking forward also for the other types of monthly proclamations that are happening and being ready for these questions in the future too.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I love this idea. If the Building Bridges committee is open to it, to taking on that initial role, and then doing kind of through email, through Stephanie or something, to another committee to say, hi, they presented at the city council, they accepted this, here's this committee, and then we work with them on something else.
Yeah.
Or they're planning to, and then we can plan an event that month
And
to
that's
do
what I was going to
something.
say is
Yeah.
there could be an event, or if we could highlight some work that group is doing
Right.
in your remarks.
Yeah.
That I'm happy to accept this. Here with us tonight is this group, and they're doing XYZ in the community, and this month they're planning this to celebrate.
Yes.
Blah blah blah. Right.
Exactly. So.
So is it appropriate for me to attend that thing on the 6th of February?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Because you're representing the human right, and we'll give whatever group is there, we introduce them to
It's like
make
a
the
support,
remark.
to support them.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
And I'll send out clips of past proclamations.
Yes,
just
we have a
so you
lot
see
of-
the procedure, so that you understand how it works. And
So my understanding, you two gonna get together to talk about something, then you show us for this one coming up, or should we plan this one and we?
I think it depends on if you're ready, if everybody has the suggestions they'd like to include.
That's
and
what she meant. Like, if you
groups.
have suggestion, send it to the email of what group you want
To attend to accept this
to
one?
accept. Yeah. So you had Black Voice Project. If he has somebody else, I think he should send an email to Stephanie, send it to us. You understand?
Yes, but I want to make sure that it's a fast turnaround so we can get back to the council.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
So if anyone.
we know that Matt is available, she's available, and I suggested one group. You have another group you want to suggest?
I mean, if he has one, it will
Yeah, I
just
was thinking
email.
like Black Greek Life, like the Divine Nine. I'm not sure if they have all of them here at University of Iowa, but they're historically black organizations
called?
that the Divine Nine.
Divine.
Yeah, so they're Black Greek organizations that are very different, but they're founded by people such as Martin Luther King and very prominent black figures in U.S. history that have
Yeah.
founded these organizations. And
So
there's a deep history.
They
there.
reached out to us last year, right? Stephanie?
no, I
No?
don't think
Was
so.
it?
I was a different group.
Okay.
Now I have a question. Once we have this, are they reaching out to those, or we reaching out to these organizations?
So the option to have Bijou and I think about this more is just if you wanted the opportunity to brainstorm a little bit longer than tonight. If you know tonight who you want to suggest, we can skip this part.
Right.
So it's up to the commission. It's on offer if we need it and want it. If you want a chance to think about it, but you'd still have to send in suggestions by this weekend. But if you're ready tonight, we'll skip that part of the process and we'll decide this evening.
I'd suggest that we give it to the weekend just to let people think about it. And that can be kind of, if we start to set kind of a precedent of giving it a few days and then letting people send in. And then this also allows us to do our own research within the community and also build a catalog of organizations that we should be in touch with around different issues. So.
I'm good with giving into the weekend. Shooting email to Stephanie about groups that we think we want to suggest, and then Stephanie can get back to us. Then we can arrange it.
Okay.
All right. We get to correspondence. We receive one correspondence first. I think it was last week, late last week. And then we receive a late one today. Usually around this section, we'll just open it up to see what people thought about the correspondence that we received, and then we'll discuss it. Then we'll see if, as a commission, we want to do anything collectively, or as an individual we can do it, because we always have to be, if we're making a decision, we're going to do something as a commission, then we have to make a motion, and we have to have discussion, and we have to vote on it. And sometimes those can pass, sometimes those can fail, but we want to make sure that we are very respectful on the commission's time, because we all have different view on looking at things. And so I'm going to open up the discussion on the first one. The first one that we got last week.
The school district.
The school district one. Anybody has anything to say on that one?
To me, I would support it being not just an interpreter for the school districts, but also mentoring these kids. I've experienced students, racism and stuff, so I will support, this letter.
I sit on the school district equity advisory committee.
Yeah.
And I assume, I see Lauren Gray was copied on this, and she leads that committee from the school district side. So I would imagine that this is brought up at our next meeting.
It is.
If it's not, I'll make sure it is. But
I think there's people actually going to the school board meeting.
yeah,
It's tonight.
Okay.
So
It's tonight.
yeah, so this is already coming kind of late for our meeting, but I know there's a member of the TRC that are going to that meeting tonight, and I know there's also a lot of community people going to that meeting tonight. So me personally, I like to give the school districts a choice a chance to address it.
right,
and
and
to
that's
see-
what I'm saying is as part of that committee,
Yeah.
I can
You can
work
bring it
to
up.
be part of that solution, because it's not just about what their response is just to this. Right now, it's how do we move forward and educate and prevent it from reoccurring, and that's the work of our advisory committee in the school district, is to improve that culture for the long term and contribute to that DEI long-term strategic plan for the district.
Well, I'm actually pleased that you sit in that committee, Doug, that, if nothing comes of it tonight at the school board meeting, that you'll be bringing it up, so maybe we can get the feedback on what your group discussed and what the school decide to do about this one. Anybody else have anything on it? Or should we wait on what the school does and what Doug's committee discussed on this? Of course, we support it. I support it.
But do we need to issue a statement of support? Are they asking for us to sign on to?
I didn't see. Huh?
What role do we play here?
What role do we play here? I don't think we have any official role we play here. So when we have matters like this, we can either issue a statement of support as a commission, because all the investigation, if there's actually a complaint, the investigation goes to Stephanie's office. We as a commission, we don't do the investigation. They do the investigation, they determine what legal or civil decision that's gonna happen over there. So as a commission, we more in the education part. We can, when we had a situation with the public library, they were having a drag show and we had people protesting that, we issue a statement of support of the event. Doug actually bring it up and he was part of drafting the first thing. So those are the things that we can issue a support. On this one, it seems like it's a matter that coming to a public entities, and I like to know what is the public entities gonna do about it, because we're gonna see it, what comes out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we see what the school board response is.
Yeah.
They may acknowledge it and work to rectify it. I think when we can get involved if it becomes a well, you're not standing up for the human rights of your students. But and not to dredge up a dead horse, but this is like the breaking bread type stuff, right? It's
is
like the education and the response to these sorts of things. So. Yeah.
And I don't think these correspondents ask us to do anything specific to it. I think they just wanted to make us aware of the issue that's going on within the school district. So there's really no request made on this one.
Just to help, the letter itself starts on page 3. So that's a letter that's been directed to us. The first 2 pages is the body of the email and how it was shared to Stephanie for the Human Rights Commission. And then page 2 is a statement of support from the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission, already demonstrating their support for the letter that follows. So because they have already demonstrated their support for the letter that follows, and there's active ongoing things tonight. And for me, I don't think that there's anything more official we need to do tonight. And we can just continue to follow it and seek updates.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. Then the second one we got today, which Stephanie had hard copy for us.
Last minute, yeah.
It came in last minute. This is actually coming from the University of Iowa. So I'll give you guys a minute if you haven't seen it yet to kind of glance through it. And I think this one has to do with an event that was put together and how one of the professor responded to it, or the comment that they made. And this one is asking for people to sign
They're asking
as letter of
for
support.
permission for that.
Am I right?
Stephanie, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, my understanding from this is that they are seeking action from the commission, i.e., will you sign your name to this letter? And I presume from what they say that if the commission seems to, they'll be willing to make edits, that this is a draft. And my understanding is from that statement that the writer made that this probably hasn't been emailed to anybody at this point.
Yeah. So are they asking a commission to sign into this letter to request a suspension? or are they asking individual commissioner to sign into this letter? Because that gets,
Yeah, my
murky right there.
definite understanding was is that they, because you could do whatever you want as individual. So
Yeah.
my understanding is that they wanted the commission as a body, which would take a majority of votes.
Do you have an extra
And-
copy of this?
Sure.
Is there a deadline?
Maybe in here
You know, that
somewhere.
information I don't know.
Thanks. No problem.
Let me try.
Does anybody else need a copy? Everybody has one? You good? Okay.
Because this just got to us today, I actually would like to each individual to take it and read it and maybe even do a little research on what actually took place before the commission takes any position on this. I know any situation that has some kind of discrimination, it's dear to my heart. I want to address it, but I don't want the commission to just jump into something without actually having the background of what took place. We just got this.
Like around 3, whatever the time is on the.
3:14.
Yeah, 3:14, and we're meeting at 5:30. So that will be my suggestion, that we all take time and read it. And this is not gonna go anywhere anytime soon. And we can, if it becomes a pressing issue that we need to call a special meeting or things like that, we have a group of people work on it, we can always do that. But I don't wanna jump on the issue that we got at 3 o'clock to make it a decision at 5:30 meeting without having all the background.
I agree with that.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here. and
There-
you know,
Stephanie, do you know, have they expressed any interest so far in providing public comment or coming to a future meeting, or are we just one of many that they've shared this with for our awareness so far?
My conversations were pretty much limited to would the commission be willing to sign on to
Okay,
this
okay,
letter.
okay, thank you.
I think the commission is willing to read it and understand it and investigate it before we can, as a commission, sign it. But each individual person can do whatever they want. But I'm talking as a commission as a whole. So I will, we don't need a vote, but I will vote we take this under advisement and take some time to investigate that. Any disagreement? Nope.
No.
All right. Moving forward. Item 11, staff commission announcement. And during this time, commissioners should not engage in discussion with one another concerning said announcement. So this is the time for commissioner to announce whatever they've been working on, any events that they attended, or anything that's going on. So it's pretty much just an announcement. We'll start with commission, that will go to staff. So start with you, John. I can start if
I don't know, yeah.
I can start.
Better.
So the month of January was kind of a busy month, but it was good month celebrating a lot of things. I accepted the proclamation, the Martin Luther King proclamation, which I have all this proclamation for you, Stephanie. On January 10th,
Thank you.
that's for the Johnson County too.
Oh, so we have both of them?
Yeah,
Okay with
so
that?
I put all my
Okay,
remarks
thank
there
you.
too.
Okay.
I attended on January 10th. I accepted the Martin Luther King proclamation by City of Iowa City Mayor and the council on behalf of the HRC. It was a well-intended council meeting, and we had some good people in attendance as well. And I just share my 10 simple things that we can all do to keep Dr. Martin Luther King's dream alive. From that event, the supervisor Porter was there too. She then invited me to come accept the Johnson County proclamation as well. So I did that on the 12th. Then I went to the Board of Supervisors and representing HRC and accepting their proclamation as well. So I gave this proclamation to Stephanie. On January 16, we had a big celebration where we did the Unity March. We started at Eastdale Plaza, UAY, and marched all the way to Mercer Park. It was well intended. I think we probably had close to 200 people marching. And the fire department, police department came and blocked the road for us. It was great marching all the way to Mercer Park. At Mercer Park, they had activities for the kids, they had speakers, and everybody was great. And after that, we just celebrated Dr. King, and there were some great speeches. So it was a really great attended event. We had a lot of elected officials there, probably 25 from Johnson County, Coralville, North Liberty. We had state representative, state senators, and City of Iowa City. So it was really good to see our community come together on the Unity March. I think they're planning something like that next year again. And then the 22nd, I attended an amazing event, celebration of Lunar New Year at Englert, put together by our friends at the Iowa City Area Chinese Association. Great talent. We learned about the culture. We learned that it's the year of the rabbits, and we all got a little rabbit. Yeah. So it was fun to celebrate that major cultural event with them. And also on that Monday was the first ever celebration of Lunar New Year with the Iowa City School District. So they had a day for that. And like Sylvia said, one of the kids that was part of establishing that movement was a kid that we gave a youth award last year. So it just defines that the future is bright for some of those younger kids that we dealing with. So that's what I have as my announcement. Anybody else? You next.
All right. So I also joined Roger at the Lunar New Year celebration, and it was really it was a celebration in itself. I mean, there was so many people who came from all different walks of life, and there was true diversity on the stage, representing many different cultures that celebrate Lunar New Year, and I really am proud of the Iowa City Chinese Association for putting it on, for being so inclusive of others as well. Just congratulations to them. Yeah. For me, I'm happy to announce that I completed my first semester, 4 courses of my executive MBA courses. So I'm on to managerial finance and dynamic negotiations right now, which is both fascinating and very different courses. And I just had my first call with the Builders and Backers Association here in Iowa City. It's like a micro grant accelerator, and I had an idea in the kind of the travel innovation space, and so I'll be kind of experimenting through mini sprints over the next 3 months with that. So that gonna keep myself busy, and then I'll just note for those, especially those in the peace building world, Kelsey, I'm looking at you, that we just opened up our nominations. I lead the Peace Prize for the Middle East, and we opened up nominations for a joint prize for 2 individuals, one Israeli Jew and one Arab Muslim, working together to advance peace in the Middle East. And we give them a $10,000 award. So I can share that information with all, but that is something we are in our 19th year, so next year we'll be celebrating 20 years of this. And we're really looking at grassroots causes. So.
Okay.
Congrats. Yeah.
So as an organizer of the Lunar New Year celebration, so we invited just people from different groups and to perform, and we're very happy about how it turned out. And so I'm actually was in charge of helping the host putting together transitions between performances. So I tried to make it like educational, inclusive, and just fun. I hope you guys like those comments made by the host. And on Monday, the day off, so the Chinese Association actually held a dragon dance event at the public library, which was well attended. Too, I personally I couldn't go, but I saw a post on Facebook. People were saying, "Oh, we heard great things about that." So I really think, and just Nali just told us a library in Moline actually invited us to participate in, maybe in a couple of weeks, because it's actually a month-long celebration of the New Year. So they want to do that on the 5th of the first month on the lunar calendar.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the updates I have. Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
Great.
Awesome.
Let's see. If you remember back in, was it November, December, there was the shooting in Colorado Springs
Yes.
at Club Q. Attended the vigil on the Pentecrest for that night. That was sponsored by the choir of Eastern Iowa, the LGBTQ choir here in Iowa City. And that was, it was very powerful standing there. It was cold, but outside in the dark with the candles and, knowing that, because when those sorts of events happen to people in your community, it can make you feel kind of isolated or targeted. And being there with others really was powerful and helpful. And it was good to see the community kind of come together. And then speaking of that, next week on Wednesday, February 1st, is Day on the Hill, sponsored by One Iowa Action.
Yes.
Lobbying the state legislature particularly against two bills that have been introduced. HF 8, House File 8, which is modeled after Florida's Don't Say Gay law. And HF 9, which is a bill that would require schools to out transgender students to their families. So if a student says, prefers that they want pronouns or a name that is other than what they were assigned at birth, this law would compel the teachers and the school staff to call home, which could be very dangerous for a lot of students who may not be in the most supportive environments at home. So February 1st is a lobbying day for the legislature against those two bills. I also had the opportunity in December to go to Ankeny and attend the Iowa Summit on Justice and Disparities. That Stephanie emailed us and offered that opportunity, and I was able to do that, so I did. And thank you to the city for that. And I will, Stephanie, I'm gonna summarize kind of everything, the highlights and the takeaways from that day. And I'll email that to you. Maybe we can include it in the packet for the next meeting or whatever. But just in general, overall, it was just a fantastic eye-opening day. A couple, just off the top of my head, one thing that I really liked, there was a breakout session by the Des Moines Police Department on a program that they are running along with Broadlawns Hospital in Des Moines to help interventions where there is a mental health crisis. So it is not just the police showing up, but there is a mental health professional responding to those calls as well. That was it was fascinating, and to see the progress that they've made on that, it was really neat. There were a couple of people who had been released from prison and talked about their time their time incarcerated and the system, and how there was one woman whose story had been covered on the news. She was in an abusive relationship. Her boyfriend was a drug dealer, and somehow she ended up in jail for over a decade. And that story was fantastic, and I'll include that in my more detailed report that I'll send out to Stephanie. But it was a fantastic day, and it was very heartening to see members of, since it was in Des Moines, it was the Des Moines Police Department, the Polk County Sheriff, but there were members there, and I thought that was a positive sign. So yeah, it was a good day.
Good stuff.
I don't have nothing actually on my list. You can go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yep, go ahead. Nikki.
Okay, I'm going to try to be quick, but I missed last meeting, so I have a few things to share. But so first off, this Friday, January 27th, is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. So please keep your eyes and ears open for statements of remembrance, but also keep it in your own hearts and minds on the day, but also throughout the year. By remembering, that is how we remember that it can happen again at any point in time. And these structures of politics and authoritarianism and how hate breeds still continue to this day for many different groups of people. The Holocaust was not just against the Jewish people, but involved many different types of those.
I don't want to interrupt, but this was my most recent tattoo.
Wow.
It's from that. So
Yeah. Please take a moment on the day of to think about how you can continue to have a role in preventing the violence against groups who are discriminated against. Second, it's kind of exciting, but this year is the first Cities Summit of the Americas. So if you follow national relations, you might have heard about the Summit of the Americas between North American and South American countries. This year, at the end of April, is the first City Summit of the Americas, and it's hosted by the city of Denver. And as part of this, there's opportunities for civil society and community leaders, but also for mayors to declare and get involved and make sure they're representing their role in not just foreign policy, but also how we consider the Sustainable Development Goals and human rights within our communities and commit to that. So as part of that, there is a global declaration of Mayors for Democracy that was previously written that is open for additional signatures. So if you are speaking with city council members, you may reference that if you'd like to. And the other thing is that just last year, the U.S. government and the Department of State created a new Office of Subnational Diplomacy. Now what that means is that they're actually focused on cities. And so this is, I'm going to read my notes here, their notes actually. I'm going to take them at their word of what they are. So there's a special ambassador, Nina Hachigian, who was the former deputy mayor of Los Angeles, who is the now ambassador of this Office of Subnational Diplomacy. And how she describes what their role is to be a conduit for states and cities to obtain the tangible benefits of foreign policy, encourage U.S. local leaders to engage internationally, and to encourage the State Department to engage in subnational actors across the United States and around the world. So how they operate is they have an email, and any city that's interested in it needs to contact them. They're a very small operation, but as you are involved in our city efforts of human rights, sustainable development goals, and promoting Iowa City, I thought I would share that with you. Lastly, there is a new organization. If you are a member of a nonprofit in Iowa, there is a new Iowa Nonprofit Alliance. If you are interested in more information about that, just contact me and I will send you how you or your organization can become a member of that.
Can you send some of those things to Stephanie
Yeah.
to send it to us?
Yes.
I started taking notes, then I had a lot to write.
It's just really built up. So.
But I would love
missed
some
you.
of those things, so yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. And next week, I really have one more thing. Next week, I will be in Medellin, Colombia. I will have the opportunity to observe a living laboratory that they are doing. They've invited a delegation from Bristol in the United Kingdom to come and learn about their youth sports programs for peace building. So Bristol's got this really cool program, and they're looking to bring it to scale. And they're going to Medellin, and if you've heard of Medellin, it might be because they've been able to reduce their violence levels. Yeah. And there is a beautiful story about the mayor installing cable cars, but the community there is like, it was so much more. And so the complications of how they made that happen and how they worked across the community is really quite special. And so later this year, my organization is doing some work to help kind of share that message more broadly, but next week gets to be my first opportunity to go to Medellin.
Nice.
And observe this living lab. And it'll be wonderful to see some old friends there. Yeah.
Great.
That's it. I'm sorry. That's
I'll be in Colombia in May, so I'll have
Yeah.
to
Okay.
World traveler.
for work.
I usually don't share much, but we have with the UNA Johnson County, which I'm a member, and Stephanie as well. We are on the committee for the Night of 1,000 dinner, which is in March. March what? March 8th. So I'll invite for you guys to get your tickets or be sponsor on that. It's very, very good and great event. I also am an ambassador in Coralville community, even though I don't live there, I got picked to become one of them. And we got a chance, basically, community leader come together in the community to see needs in Coralville. And we had a group of a lot of people, great leaders, but I got to talk to some women that work with the school district, which I need to speak with you sometimes. They're para educators, and they were showing their concerns, and it really broke my heart to hear their stories out there not heard, and how much they do in the school districts, but they're not being supported or anything. So we wanted to make a group for them just to support them, or to find out some non-profit organization that will support them. But mostly we want to encourage them. The one that I spoke with are afraid to speak up, to come to the meetings, the school district meeting, and speak up, because if they speak at school, it's like their voice is not being heard. They'll speak and nobody want to hear what they got to say. So I invite them to come to our meetings sometimes. Is that okay, Stephanie? Because then maybe here they can be heard and we can support them. Great women, they've been there for 10 years, 11 years, and some of them 21 years. You know, one of the things that they're concerned is like the newer comer are getting paid the same amount as them. They've been there, and they told them either they had to retire or leave and find another place, or they have to take the pay. So another thing, I think maybe you might be part of this. The city of Iowa City is with Heyman. They're doing a neighborhood association for the Pheasant Ridge, for the issue. So they're gonna have that. We had meetings. I participated in one of them. 2 city council members came to Pheasant Ridge and kind of heard the people that live there, you know, the issues around there. So it's not just going to be Pheasant Ridge, it's going to be Pheasant Ridge and all that
surrounding area.
Yeah, surrounding area, to have neighborhood association for people to voice out their opinion about housing, you know, discrimination, racism and stuff. So that's a good project, and thanks to the city for listening to that. Another thing is, I'm from Congo, so many people don't even know, or some people do know this, but we have, I think, the longest war in the world since 1996, and it keep on going and going, and every time leaders come together to bring peace, it doesn't happen, and most of this issue is because Congo is one of the richest country in Africa, which a lot of resources like gold, coltan, you know, your phones, what drive Telstra today, you know, it comes from Congo. So a lot of countries are fighting to take over Congo because of the resources and stuff. Congolese people will talk and everything else, but when it comes to speaking up, everybody's afraid. So there's some organization that actually reach out to me and some group that I work with to see how they can support us. So I'm gonna come to you guys sometimes when everything is put together for your signatures or in support for Congo, because Congress is talking with Congolese leaders and other leaders to try to see if they can bring peace. We are probably going to speak with them as well, so your involvement will be appreciated, or your support will be appreciated. Just in December, in one of the small city, 200 people just got killed. Sorry, I don't know. I don't want to get emotional. I get emotional a lot because women and children, they're not just being killed by guns, but decapitated, and I'm sorry. It's always hard, you know. I say this, I've been in this country for 24 years, but Congo is my country. But also not just my country, I like peace. You know, I like serving, but I love peace. And if this country fighting to take over just because of the resource, find a way to share, don't kill. Again, just in December, there was a church that was bombed, you know? These are the people that don't have voice or don't know how to speak for themselves, or they are afraid to speak because there's no democracy, there's no... there's a lot of Congolese people here in America. There's a lot of them in Iowa that been through that. I think before I used to say I was grateful that I didn't get to actually experience, but I don't need to be grateful, but they're living those nightmares still. So for mental health that you talk about, we're dealing with that. I have something that I call Sister Circle, where just women come and talk together. And because I hear a lot of things they cannot express themselves. Oh, why did I do this? Sorry. Okay, I just stopped that. Sorry.
I apologize.
No.
It's hard. It's really hard. I just want peace. I just want peace in every country. You know, it hurts. It hurt. Congo has lost so many people every day, and you feel it. I just want peace. Sorry.
You're good.
It's completely understandable.
I'm done.
And you're doing your part every day.
Yes.
Every day you are.
You are ambassador.
Yeah.
Remember that.
So
You're playing a role.
don't stop.
Thank you. You are too.
Keep doing your part. We're all doing just little by little.
Yeah.
The corruption is so huge
It's
that you elect a leader and they just get corrupt. So we start doing things that outside of government just to support.
yeah, because the government get corrupted and they see money. You know, there's resources, but people are not working to get that.
Yeah.
There are people that work hard, but they get paid what, $10 a month.
Yeah.
You know, and if you see somebody come with 1,000, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
sell it.
of course you take it.
But then yet you get to experience, you know, your wife being raped in front of you and your kids, and some of these people are here in Iowa that went through that need help. Help from all of you guys, but they can't, they're either ashamed or can't speak, or they're afraid to speak. So Summer, please create some events to invite, you know, a lot of immigrants and refugees, not just in Congo, Sudan, and all these other places. They go through a lot. I think our cultures is, you know, we just take. We serve, we help, but then you don't speak what hurts.
Yeah.
And I am done, sorry.
No, you're fine. So I just joined the board, so in regards to updates about the board, I don't really like have board-related updates, but in regards to like personal stuff I've been doing, one thing I'm doing is working with the neighborhood centers regarding that neighborhood association. Also had the opportunity to talk to the president of Hills Bank and creating a partnership with the neighborhood center in order to teach financial literacy to welcome communities in our city there. Outside of that, that's been kind of pretty much the main thing I've been working on. Also talking to some state level folks about Senate File 252 in regards to landlords pretty much being able to choose whether or not they can accept Section 8 vouchers or not. So trying to work with some folks on state level there to see what we can do to hopefully get that pushed back. I think this is the third time that it's come up. The first two times we got pushed back, the third time we went through. So hopefully we can get this topic to come again and get pushed back, because there's going to be a lot of people displaced out of Des Moines, Iowa City, Marion, because I think there used to be city ordinances in those places regarding that. So hopefully I'm started a petition for that, and then hopefully going to share it with some state level folks and see if they can share it if y'all would be interested in that too. I can share it with y'all, but that's personal. So if you are interested, and then I also started a master's program recently, so doing that online while working. So I've been pretty busy.
Masters in what?
Cloud computing.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Welcome aboard.
Is that me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I would start off on where Vito left is we do have so many people in the community in Iowa City. There are women from Sudan, from Congo, from Burundi, who we do have, I think what's missing is the link to,
Yeah.
we do have resources,
Yeah.
but like a link is majorly missing. So I am, for example, at Iowa, I See Compassion, we have the Iowa Refugee Counseling Center, where we are able to give free services for mental health treatment. And now with the help of Grant, we have people who can interpret and do that. But how do these women get to us?
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
There's no way to get them transported. They don't have cars. They're new in the city. They don't know the language. Things like we do have things like bus passes, but to get the bus pass, you have to go to I See Compassion, for example, or go to the place and get the bus pass. How does
Yeah.
that make sense? Because
Yeah.
there's no straight way of reimbursement in a lot of cases, so there are lots of barriers that when I first started at I See Compassion, it was me and another student from social work, Adina, and we had literally nothing in place, and with her social work skills, and she's been in the community, we were able to bring things together, at least have money for interpreters and things like that. But like you said, there's a huge need. And then there are people who are willing to provide services. My supervisor is willing to supervise. She's served on the Human Rights Commission, Dr. Noemi. So we're willing to do that, but there's a huge gap. So that's something that we need to probably work on as a community to be able to take that support and make it reach there. Another thing that I mentioned last time also, again, we do get emails from people who are, say, undocumented, and specifically undocumented minors who we are not able to serve because they don't have anybody to sign for them. So I see guidance. I mean, if there's something that we can do I don't know what has to change, but the law they need a signature from a parent or a guardian who consents that they are allowed to go to therapy, but they just don't have anyone to sign, and they need therapy services even more and are less likely to have it. So I think this is something, and then something that we have to worry about. Like when I was working with a client, she was at risk of suicide, and like for another person who's a citizen here, I just need to call the police, get this person the help they need. With a person who's undocumented, we have to think 1,000 times, but we still have to get them to the hospital, but with the worry that they're undocumented and they're scared of being got there. So I think that's something that I'm willing and wanting to work if there's some support that I can get for. Apart from that, I think I'm working with the people at I See Compassion and a few other organizations to come together, and like I think Stephanie also said, a lot of complaints that come with conflicts is not black and white, it's within the same community.
Yeah.
So we need to have more activities. Sometimes it's difficult for people to recognize like why are people from the same community fighting, and sometimes it gets very serious, especially in the schools, and they can't seek the same support with the police because they're undocumented, for example. So there is a lot of, again, violation of basic human rights, not getting treatment. Other issues in schools, like if there is a Spanish-speaking family or a Spanish-speaking boy who some letter has to go from the school to the parent, it goes in English to parents who don't read English. So I think there are major of those misses, and I think these indirectly kind of are giving statements of you're not welcomed here or we don't care about you. If there's something that can be done, especially in school districts, recognizing that there are children and there are parents and communities who don't speak English, and it would just take a little effort to translate this, if that can be done. Apart from that, we've been able to successfully partner with a few organizations in the state of Iowa, and one of them is Catherine Macaulay Center, which is like the official UN place, and we're getting, so that place is brilliant because we're also getting, so there are people who want counseling services and they provide for transport and everything to these people. The only problem is it only happens for 3 months, and after that refugees are expected to learn all of America within 3 months. So they get that support in that time, and then there's nothing. But at least we've been able to partner with a few different places to be able to do that. And with the help of University of Iowa students, even without grants, we were able to get a few people to just volunteer and interpret. So I think we just need to work on those bridges, which is missing, because we do have resources and need on both ends and people willing to do it. It's just small things that are missing in the middle. Yeah, I think that's all.
Sorry, may I just say something? You mentioned school district. Where did we go from teacher contacting parents on behalf of students? Like the communication is always now between just teacher and students. Parents don't get involved in anything. And when you mention about that, parents, and I understand the language barrier maybe might be that, but you know, my daughter is like, I read her email, she just has conversation about meetings, stuff with a teacher. I don't get nothing as a parent. And she's a minor. Is it something that you guys discuss all the time? Is that a new rule where teacher don't need to contact
No,
parents?
it's not. Just as a former teacher, I think a lot of times, well, how old?
15.
15. Yeah, especially at that age, a lot of times it's about like trying to deal with the student, get them to take ownership and get them to take responsibility. So a lot of times it's that. You know, I guess it depends on the teacher a lot of times.
I think they get to you and they're desperate.
like when I was a
They
teacher,
do.
at least
Only
I would.
when the kids are in trouble, then the parents are involved. But when there's all this stuff going on, I never know. My daughter's like, well, we have concert. Wait, I didn't see that on the schedule. Like, I don't want them to communicate with me. I just want that email to let me know as well.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot of international immigrants and refugee kids. They won't send anything to their parents. You know, you send a note, you know, they just hide it because they don't speak. But I think it's important to always
I think
send that.
you reach out to the teacher at the school.
Well, you remind me actually, I thought of it. I was actually.
Actually, we cannot, during the announcement, we cannot have
Sorry.
conversation. So, sorry, I missed that part because of the open meeting.
Well, I was treating it as clarification.
Yes.
And then it started to.
You can always have those conversations outside of meeting, but during staff announcement, we can interact. So we're gonna push it over to our staff, the amazing staff, to share what they got going on.
Thank you. Well, I'm just going to quickly touch, if you ever need, we can discuss the difference between police and ICE, because you can ask the police for help and not end up in trouble with ICE unless you have a warrant for ICE. So that is something that we can definitely discuss. Let me know and we can maybe do an educational seminar. So the few things that the police department's been taking care of for the last little while. So I know we had a tour with Carrying Hands and More. It was excellent. We had a great turnout. They got to see the police department. They got to speak with the sergeants, some of the police officers that were on duty, see the cars. They even got to experience some of the background work that happens with investigations. It was very educational. They really enjoyed it, and we've got a great response from the director, so that was really great to see, and we're going to continue to work with them and collaborate with them going forward. And we were graciously invited to the MLK Day celebration, and we were so happy to be able to participate and spend time with the community in a positive way, and to celebrate all of what Martin Luther King meant, and all of the work that he did in our community. So, and thank you for being there and making me feel very welcome. I do appreciate it. It was great to see you there. It's great to see everyone. So that's one of the things that the police did take part in. I did meet with the downtown mayor, so I'm sure that you folks know what 988 is. Is that correct, or would you like me to?
I think for the commission, it will be a good idea to talk about 988.
Perfect. Well, I love this because this is something that I'm actually quite passionate about. Is 988 is the new number to call for mental health crisis. So it's like 911, but this actually contacts you directly with a crisis counselor through community crisis services here in our area. So the great news is we're actually working closely with Community Crisis to make sure that these calls are redirected correctly, and I will send you some documents that you can forward to everyone in regards to just questions, information about 988, things like different languages. Can you call if you don't speak English? Absolutely. We use language line solutions. We have English and Spanish services right now. By we, I mean they do, but we as a community. Other than that, they do have text, they have chat. Chat is used actually most frequently because even younger people will use chat to contact community crisis. Or 988, because in any area, depending on where you're at, it goes to your local crisis center. So for us, it's community crisis. Another thing is they have LGBTQIA plus training as well. So there is a time block, I believe it's between 3 o'clock and 10 o'clock when they have individuals that are trained with LGBTQIA plus issues, and they can help anyone who specifically needs help with those issues for that community. So I will send over some information for you guys so that you can be well versed in this. I've been trying to spread the news as much as I can. We want to support community crisis. We've seen really great things so far. 98% of the calls that go through 988 do not need to be diverted to 911. So that means that 98% of those calls are being helped by a community crisis counselor, and they don't have any interaction with police. They're getting the help they need. They're getting the resources they need. So it's actually quite effective. I'll send those statistics over for you as well. So we actually, I spoke with the downtown mayor, and I went to the last meeting with the local bar and representatives, or bar and restaurant representatives. I informed them about our new approach to mental health crisis, and I also just showed them some signage that we can display in their bathrooms. So in the future, as soon as we are able to change the signage in the bathrooms, we are going to put that in the bathrooms so that individuals that might be experiencing crisis in the downtown area, especially after a long night of drinking, if you're feeling kind of down, that is there. It's in the top of your head, so that when you're in a crisis situation, you remember that easy 3-digit number. Can be a life or death situation, right? Like it can really save you because it's so much easier. Like who here remembers the 1-800 number? Because I don't, right? So this is amazing. I think it's going to bring on some really amazing change. We actually have a community crisis person that stays in our police department. His name is Joa. We have a second one that we just added on, so it's just really exciting. Some good news there that we're expanding to help the community's needs. We also had a family safety event here at Health and Human Services that we attended, which was awesome. It was a great chance to speak with people in the community. Huge turnout. I'd say probably 150, 200 people. They actually were giving out car seats, pack and plays, teaching basic safety when it comes to be around children, and local rules and regulations on how children need to be strapped into cars, how they should be in a crib without pillows, depending on their age group. So that was really excellent. And we got to speak with because it was actually a majority of immigrant and refugee population. So we got to speak with that population and have a positive impact on those communities, and have a positive interaction with their kids as well, because I got to hang out with them and coloring pages, which was kind of amazing for me. So I was having a great day. Right now I know we're doing MATS training, so that is for our police officers, and not just our officers, but any first responders in Johnson County. What that is there is implicit bias training, there is CPR, there is crisis and intervention training, training on things like dementia, local laws and regulations, and any changes that may be in those laws. So this is really important. It's something that we're doing for the entire month of January. The great news is not only is the police department invited, the fire department, the first responders, but we've got our community crisis helpers or collaborators also involved. So they did attend as well, and we got our CPR training and certification, so that's excellent. We are in the process of doing Community Police Academy. That has just started on Monday night. This is an opportunity for locals in the area to find out how police officers are trained. This is great. This is our first time back since COVID, so we've got, I think, 17 people on the roster. Don't quote me on that. So we're hoping to expand. I also have views for the future where I'd like to target different and diverse communities. The reason for that is because we want to represent everyone in the police department, so it'd be great to be able to recruit in different communities for anyone who would like to be able to represent that community and help bring a new view to the police department. Of course, it's going to be great. So yeah, We've got the Community Police Academy. We've got the PB&J Drive. If anybody remembers that from last year, Community Crisis is doing the Peanut Butter and Jelly Drive. We compete against JCSO, so we would raise, whoever raised the most money wins, great, and if they don't, they get a PB&J pie to the face. So that's fun. The Regina School and Parkview Elementary are doing community helper events to teach the children about community helpers, what we're here for, how we can help if you are ever in an emergency situation. So we're going to be visiting with both of those schools this week coming up. I have a presentation with the Noon Kiwanis Club, and actually if anyone is interested, I know Noon Kiwanis is concerned about translating and the large amount of immigrant and refugee population that they're working with. They don't have translation services, so they've asked me to come with resources and to just discuss how we might be able to collaborate. So that's another organization that's reached out to us, and something that we're very excited about, and this is just in the works. We are just discussing it and trying to figure out where a great location would be, and if anybody would like to collaborate, please let us know. We would like to start something called the EPIC series. It's engaging police in conversations. So we are going to find a public location where we might be able to set up shop, hang out with the community, and engage them with conversation on a monthly basis. Basically just bringing like common facts, what's happening right now, policing procedures, and also being able to answer any questions that the community has, just so we're out there and we're available to have that discussion, and you're not just meeting the police officers in an emergency setting. You can actually talk to them as individuals and members of our community. Perfect. I think I got all of that out there. Are there any potential areas of concern that the PD might be able to help address, or any opportunities to collaborate on anything that you guys wanted to maybe discuss at all, or send an email to me about? Yeah, I guess that's it. Does anybody have any comments?
I have a question. Where can we sign up to get those information and activity that are going on with the police department?
Absolutely. So I do apologize. I sent out a newsletter in December, but I did not send one out in January because there was some confusion as to whether it should stay internal or if I could send it publicly, because I know there's like ADA compliance, and I just wanted to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row before I started sending out random things. But I think we're ready. So I'm going to send the January newsletter and the February one to Stephanie so she can forward that to you, and I'll continue to do so going forward.
Awesome. That'd be great. And another question, as we're talking about 988, we haven't really talked much about the Guidelink Center. I think Commissioner probably need to know about the resources we have in town with the Guidelink Center. What can they do over there? When can people go over there? So I think all those are good discussion addressing, mental health and things like that. So
absolutely,
any information we can get on the service that are getting provided by the Guidelink Center, who can go there, and I think that'd be good.
So maybe if we can put some time aside, what I can do is I can actually do a formal presentation on the Guidelink Center and 988.
That'd be great.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Awesome.
So if time permits on the next meeting, maybe we could do that, or just let me know when is a good time.
The
next meeting will be very heavy with the grants, so maybe let's plan for March, if all
Plan for
possible.
March?
Yeah.
Well, I'll send some material out
Yes.
beforehand, and then in March maybe we can just have an open discussion in
Sounds
regards
good.
to that.
Sounds
Okay.
Great, you can always, and I can talk to Roger and Sylvia, there's always opportunities to do work sessions too.
Yeah.
So that you're not here for 3 hours, you know.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We want to respect your time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Are you done?
I am done. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to know about the police department, or?
I'm excited about the EPIC sessions.
Yeah.
And I think there may be opportunities for us to partner thematically on them. But we can talk more about it.
Yeah. I think if I can send out your contact information, but I don't want this year to start off kind of.
Yes.
It really should just be somebody talking, and if you have a clarification question, like what did you say or what was the date, but when you're getting more into this
discussion,
I think that's a dialogue that,
Thank you for the reminder, Stephanie.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
So I'll keep it short and sweet. I just, the commission, I wanted to get some dates on everybody's calendar. So the Youth Human Rights Awards will be Wednesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. the Hilton Garden Inn, and I think it's is it the Grand Ballroom, do they call it? The State Ballroom, where the...
The second floor one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the expectation is always to have them, all commissioners at.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the Human Rights Breakfast will be Wednesday, October 25th at 7 a.m. at the View, which is also the...
October 21st? 25th? Or
25th.
Okay.
25th.
Sorry, can you repeat where that is?
The View.
You'll be there.
Oh, the day or the location?
The location.
It's the Hilton Garden Inn, but it's at their rooftop
It's our next meeting, the
restaurant.
28th, the 4th. That's right, because we're on
I think it's called The View, right?
1, 2, 3,
Yeah, I
4.
believe it's
Yeah.
1,
VUE.
2, 3.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
28th?
okay.
Okay.
And that's at 10
And
a.m.
let's see,
This is
Um,
the breakfast.
the Human Rights Breakfast is October 25th, and then the Youth Human Rights Boards are May 10th.
May 10th.
And then your next meeting in February will be across the hall, which is the normal or regular, I don't like the word normal, which is the regular place where the commission meets. If you like this space, we can certainly look into using it, but I think for your February meeting, because of the potential of organizations to come
Yes.
to hear your decision-making and how you decide, you'll probably at least need that bigger space for February, but
28.
we
Yeah.
certainly can look at, having meetings in here, if that seems to be the preference of a majority of commission members. If you have not reached out to me about orientation, please send me an email. I think today was great, and I think all the commissioners gave a great overview, but there are just some things where the commission does have this like quasi-judicial position within the realm of complaints, and so just so I can go over that with you, and also do a little bit about if you're contacted by the media,
Yeah.
kind of the proper protocol and how to not answer questions, but what keywords to make sure you say, so that it's clear who you're speaking on behalf of and who you're not. Let's see. Yeah, the only other thing I was going to mention is, we're seeing more of what I'll call truth-telling from community members, which I think is great. The TRC is working on getting their proposal through the city council, and the firms that they'll be working with would create the structure to kind of do that. But until that time, when people come and say, I had this unlawful discrimination, if it's in an area that's covered by the office and based on a characteristic covered, what happens is we have to send those to the Iowa Civil Rights Commission, which is the state equivalent of our office, because you've conflicted the commission out because of this quasi-judicial function.
Yeah.
Got it.
Which is fine. They do just as good a job as we do. They are, you don't have to, they have a process set up where if you don't live in Des Moines, they have a process. But just being mindful until this process is actually established, that people can come to our office, but we're going to say, we're going to have to send this to the state. So it's just kind of a balance on what that looks like. So, and also making sure that people understand that these are public meetings, it's recorded, there's a transcript.
Yep.
And there's certain liabilities that could attach to that if somebody's coming to say things that maybe somebody else finds to be a different interpretation.
Yeah.
So just being mindful until this kind of procedural process is set up with the TRC. It's not that I would discourage anybody from coming, but just making sure that they kind of know the procedural outcomes of a public truth-telling. Because, they could be retaliated. I mean, there's just a host of things that could happen to a person that they may not realize by just coming to a meeting and sharing 30 minutes with everyone. But, yeah, that's it.
So,
Say
sorry.
exactly.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Can I ask Stephanie a question about
You can
that?
ask for clarification.
Clarification about, for the civil rights, for discrimination, you say you send them to them, but do you also have form that people can fill out that you just send it straight to the civil rights department in Des Moines?
We do, and we talk off softball, it's a different process.
Right.
So when you're not living in the there's gonna be more written correspondence, a questionnaire, it's a different process for a person. And it's not that that's bad, but some people want a certain experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys all of you guys for coming. Thank you and welcome all the new members. Looking forward to working with all of you guys to move our city forward. And for that, I will ask for motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side? No? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.